Welcome to episode number 3 of the Colombian Soccer Show. My name is Juan Pimiento. Thank you for joining us on game day number 2 for Colombia as they face the Democratic Republic of the Congo. In the second outing, a chance to be 2 for 2, 6 for 6 in terms of points, but also to clinch their spot in the next round and also, and maybe most importantly, really close in and be on the verge of clinching first place in the group. We'll talk about that in a minute. Thank you again so much for joining us. As always, we're here on YouTube, on Facebook for this episode. Make sure to follow us here and all our social media. Of course, you can follow us here on YouTube. Like, subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Also, do me a favor. Comment right below if you have a question, if you have a comment, a disagreement, if you have your own views, if you want to vent. This is your chance to do so. Facebook as well. Like the page, like the stream, comment down below as well as we preview again this game number 2 for Colombia in this World Cup. We're also present on Instagram, on TikTok, and on X with reels, with videos, photo galleries, all kinds of content in the only place for Colombian soccer content, news, analysis, and history in English anywhere. So follow us. You don't want to miss a thing. Let's talk about this game because it happens for those of us on the Western Hemisphere tonight, Tuesday night. For you, if you're watching in Europe, Africa, Asia, or in Oceania, it happens, I guess, Wednesday morning. Anyway, Colombia, DR Congo, and a chance again for Colombia to clinch a spot in the round of 32. I feel like the schedule almost worked in a funny way because we're coming off the victory against Uzbekistan, a game that started easy. We'll put it that way. Colombia dominating in the first half. And then it got difficult. We broke it down, of course, during our live stream on our last episode. But that game progressively got more difficult. Colombia suffered at the end until the third goal came in. And then it was all she wrote. And this game, I feel like it's similar tactically, but also it's like a step up. It's a level up. Colombia will go from the not as tough to something tough to something tougher, of course, on Saturday when they face Portugal. But we'll get there on Saturday. We'll get there because the game, again, everybody has a circle on their calendar. We've all been looking forward to Saturday against Portugal because of how crucial we all know first place is in this World Cup and in this group in particular, looking ahead into the matchups for the next few rounds. Here's the landscape for Group K in the World Cup. Again, Colombia first place with the win, 3-1 against Uzbekistan. The Congo doing us a huge solid by taking a point from Portugal. A tough game, but Congo showed out. And they showed off a lot of the things that are great, the things that can make Colombia nervous in this game, but also things that Colombia can take advantage of. And last place, Uzbekistan, with no points as they first face Portugal. They probably have faced Portugal by the time you've seen this. We'll see what happens. But again, the win because you clinch the round of 32, but because it leaves you with 6 points and it leaves you with a much more relaxed environment. We'll put it that way. Colombia won't have to go into Saturday's game with the pressure of winning against Portugal. Only a draw will suffice to be first place. So a crucial game today just for results purposes and table purposes for Colombia to actually clinch first place and go on their merry way the rest of this World Cup. Let's talk about the Congo because the Congo, it's a team that, again, they've been in the World Cup once ever. Here's the graphic. As Zaire in 74. They come into this World Cup after beating out the Intercontinental Playoff, taking a spot away from Jamaica and New Caledonia, I think it was. And then they go into Portugal and they win. They draw. It's basically a win for them. They draw 1-1. And I keep going back to the Uzbekistan game for Colombia because there's a lot of similarities. Number one, back five, right? The Congo also play with the back five. 2 wing backs who can go all the way down the field, send the crosses, and create all kinds of havoc. Colombia faced that in the second half of Uzbekistan. Let's not forget how much Johan Mojica struggled, how much Munoz struggled at times with the speed of the wingbacks and the crosses coming in. That's how the goal came in for Uzbekistan in the first game. Camilo Vargas had a lot to do with it, but again, in the construction, a cross to the other side, a header, a bad parry by Camilo Vargas, and the goal. Uzbekistan don't have the attacking threat that the Congo have, and I'm talking about the two forwards in particular. So crosses that are coming in are most likely crosses that will get finished, or at least make Vargas work a lot, because Uzbekistan had one forward, Shomurodov. DR Congo have two. They have Wissa and they have Bakambu. And two guys with experience. Wissa is a guy from the Premier League, of course. Bakambu's been in a bunch of clubs at the top levels of Europe. So, two guys who will be a lot less forgiving than Uzbekistan was. Masuaku, the left wing back, is the one to watch as far as that matchup down the flanks, because he's fast. He's the one who provided the assist to Wissa for the goal against Portugal. And I guess a little bit lucky for Colombia, the right side is not as vulnerable as the left side. Again, Munoz doesn't struggle as much as Mojica does. So I guess in terms of matchups, maybe it works a little bit to the advantage of Colombia that the strongest side in the attack for the Congo is the left side. But we can't just discard the left side at all, because again, it's fast and Munoz can get caught as well. Because Munoz likes to go forward as well, so he can get easily caught. On the back line, I think this is where Colombia needs to really hone in, because we saw in the first game against Uzbekistan something that we previewed before the game and something that we've seen in matchups previous to the World Cup, is that Colombia against a low block, as we talked about before, struggle. How they got that first goal, it was just a moment of brilliance from Daniel Munoz, finding his way through that back line unexpectedly. It was brilliant, a great run, and an equally great and brilliant delivery by Luis Diaz, finding him right behind the defense with a pass so precise, so well timed. It was beautiful. And the first goal. Can Colombia replicate that? Not just once, maybe twice or three times. And I'm not even talking about goals, I'm talking about chances. Because the Congo were able to neutralize Cristiano Ronaldo in their first game. But if you remember the goal by Portugal, it actually came from João Neves coming in from the midfield, crashing the box, beating out Axel Tuanzebe, the former Man United guy who plays as the central center back of the back three. And he beat him. He beat him to the punch. Tuanzebe didn't see him coming at all. Capuari is the left-sided center back. He was with Ronaldo. And Bemba, the captain, again, he was looking at the teammate, relying on him to cover his back. And Juan Wissa on the right, another former Man United guy, got beat in that scenario for the goal. So that might be a formula. And I think here's one key, because of course there is no Cristiano Ronaldo for the Congo. The focus will be Luis Diaz, as every team does with Colombia. The right half of the back line for the Congo, again, Juan Wissa, Mbemba, Tuanzebe, they'll lock in on Luis Diaz. Who can take advantage of this? Luis Suarez, of course, number one, the striker, who was able to find spaces in between and behind the Uzbekistan backline. He just didn't finish, right? It's just a chronic issue with Colombian strikers. Gustavo Puerta is another one. If you notice something, especially in the first half, when Colombia were really pinning Uzbekistan back against their own goal, when Colombia crossed the halfway line, the center line, Puerta usually made his way in between the center back and the left center back. He just boxed himself in there just to add another body, another option, open up the spaces for Luis Suarez, for Luis Diaz, and for the wing backs, in Colombia's case for the fullbacks, that's the term, and crowd the box, right? Make it 5-on-5, 5-on-4, something a little bit more favorable for Colombia offensively against the low block. Puerta, of course, can track back, maybe drag a defender, move him off of his position. Suarez sneaking behind. John Arias. And John Arias really took over the game against Uzbekistan. It was great to see because a guy who's coming in great form, who can do so many things. He can create, he can transport, he can also crash the box as well. He can also find those spaces. And maybe he can do that as well and take advantage. For him to do that, of course, James Rodriguez has to be on his game. There's a lot of discussion right now. If you go to our TikTok and our Instagram, the Colombian Soccer Show, I posted a clip from the last episode when I criticized James and his performance against Uzbekistan for not doing much of anything, especially at number 10, who we rely to deliver those services to the forwards, to the fullbacks as well. They don't really do it. So James has to be on his game, and this is his chance to get back to the James we saw 2024, or at least just something, whatever his left leg has magic-wise, and his brain has creativity-wise. We have to get this going from James starting today, let alone Saturday, but today against the Congo, because there will be spaces, and the only way again to get through is with those delivery balls from the center or from the fullbacks, from the sides. Mojica can have a good game, perhaps. Munoz can have a great game, perhaps. We'll see how Colombia attack this one, because again, it'll be very similar. And against Uzbekistan, they were able to score, but it took a while. It took a good 40 minutes for Colombia to break through, and again, it took something almost off script from Munoz and Diaz, because Diaz was the one who assisted Munoz. Munoz made the run like a winger into the box. So can Colombia not depend so much on that and just the regular movements, the regular services from their attacking midfielders, from Arias and James? We'll see what happens. If it happens, I think Colombia have a good chance to do something very important. It's my second point, which is score earlier, man. We gotta score earlier and often. Can we take a 2-0 lead, for example, to halftime and really alleviate the pressure on our defense? Because with a lead, then we know that, of course, Colombia can be a little more careful, more patient with the ball, not be so risky moving their lines ahead and leaving space in behind Sanchez and Lukumi and Lerma for the Congo to get through, because again, the Congo play with 2 forwards. That's 2-on-2. And Sanchez was beat a few times against Uzbekistan, 1-on-1. So can we avoid that? Lerma can only do so much. And that's the problem with Lerma. And again, anyone that plays that position, that center mid position, because James doesn't help on defense. Puerta, he tries, but he has to cover for James and for Lerma, and sometimes even for Munoz. Arias also, he is very, very fast. He can cover ground, but there's only one guy to provide that balance and that last barrier, and that's Jefferson Lerma. So avoiding the counter is key. And getting an early lead helps us focus more on that. When Colombia are on the attack, move the ball and not risk so much in desperation to get that first goal. To me, those are the keys, really, for this game in very simple terms, so you guys know what to look for. Number 3, as far as the keys, I think as well, and it's something, again, I'm basing this a lot off of what happened on Wednesday against Uzbekistan. The bench. Nestor Lorenzo is a coach who's very hit or miss, and I'm putting this very mildly when it comes to substitutions and adjustments. Colombia have lost points in qualifying because of game management by the coach. If I remember correctly, it took him about 70 minutes to make his first substitution against Uzbekistan. James was shot. Mojica was shot. Lerma was struggling physically. Luis Suarez already, again, also on his last legs. So there have to be changes earlier, because Colombia, a lot of players are not going to last that long. I talked about James. We know that James, by the 60th minute, by the hour, is done physically. Can Lorenzo act quicker? And how is he going to adjust? Is Colombia going to give up the ball again in the second half? and allow the Congo to move their lines forward and start peppering crosses into the box like Uzbekistan did, with the quick wingbacks beating our fullbacks, especially Mojica? Can Lorenzo think quickly enough to send in a David Machado, to send in a Juanfer Quintero, maybe an extra midfielder, a Richard Rios? Can you send them in quicker? But then again, if you're Richard Rios, or if you're Lorenzo sending Richard Rios in, then what are you getting from Richard Rios? Because Rios also got beat multiple times by midfielders who tried to crash the box, and they found spaces right in behind Richard Rios. So Lorenzo's game management is the third key to these games. The second half, something he struggles with, and something that Colombia cannot afford to mess up in this game, especially if they only have a 1-goal lead, 2-goal lead, because the Congo are going to get at them. And they have the danger to score more than 1 goal, unlike Uzbekistan. So those are the keys for the game. Again, results-wise, a victory is a huge step forward. Colombia clinched their spot in the next round. Colombia going to Saturday's game against Portugal, only needing a draw to clinch first place. And then we'll see what happens. Who's going to be the rival for Colombia in the round of 16 on July 3rd? If they win, we all hope they do. That is your preview for Colombia against DR Congo. Thank you so much again for joining me. Our next time together will be in just a few hours, or a few minutes maybe, after the game. Join us, because I'll be live here on YouTube after the game to cover it all, to break it all down, to talk about what happened, what didn't happen, Colombia hopefully winning or drawing or losing. Join me, because again, we're on YouTube. You can comment if you need to vent. You can vent if you have any questions for me. Send them on out to YouTube. Put them down on our comments box as well. Also on Facebook, do the same. I'll address them either live or doing our next episode, which will be Saturday, of course, previewing Portugal's the game against Portugal. But next time we're up here live will be after the game, so join us as soon as the whistle blows to end the game. Go to YouTube, the Colombian Soccer Show. Follow us, subscribe, so you also get notified when I go live, and you can join the conversation as well. Hopefully, recapping another Colombia victory, 2-for-2, 6-for-6 in Group K of this FIFA World Cup 2026. Thanks so much for joining us. Also, don't forget to follow us on the other networks where we are: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and X, for all kinds of content. We have content every day, basically, for you to also enjoy, learn from, or comment about. So again, follow us there. The Colombian Soccer Show, the one and only place for Colombian soccer content in English anywhere in this world. Thank you again for joining me, and I'll see you in just a few hours after the game.